Step into a realm where time bends and history whispers its darkest secrets. Where ancient stones hold the breath of the past, we now venture to one of the British Isles' most magnificent and most terrifying legacies, the Tower of London. A gleaming symbol of power, a palace that presided over centuries of royalty. But be warned, behind that stately facade lies a notorious prison, a blood-soaked execution ground, and a tomb for countless mysteries yet to be unveiled. It is within these very walls that ultimate tragedies were born, sowing terror and weaving legends of restless spirits, forever clinging to every shadow, even to this very day. The Tower of London isn't a single structure, but a sprawling, formidable complex, built and expanded over centuries. Its foundations were laid in 1078 by William the Conqueror himself, just a decade after his brutal invasion of England. Its initial purpose was clear: a symbol of raw power, an unspoken threat to the newly conquered people of London, and an impregnable fortress to safeguard the new Norman monarchy. At the heart of this complex stands the White Tower, a majestic Norman edifice, its white limestone walls now stained with the passage of time. It once served as a palace, an armory, and later, a holding place for its most infamous prisoners. Around the White Tower, successive monarchs added more walls, a moat, and subsidiary towers, transforming it into an impenetrable labyrinth. Every stone, every hidden corner seems to be steeped in the sweat, tears, and blood of hundreds, thousands of souls who walked these grounds, lived, and died within these very walls. But the Tower of London's most renowned role wasn't as a lavish palace, but as a notorious prison. From convicted traitors to royal figures caught in political maelstrom, the Tower witnessed the downfall of countless lives. It wasn't just a place of incarceration. It was also the site of horrific tortures and public, or often secret, executions. Here, the monarch's absolute power was enforced, at times in the most brutal and inhumane ways imaginable. These tragedies have created a somber atmosphere, where the line between history and legend blurs. In most gruesome tales, one stands out above the rest, becoming one of England's greatest historical enigmas, haunting the Tower and its people for centuries. The disappearance of the princes in the Tower, a story of power, betrayal, and the tragic fate of innocent children. In 1483, following the sudden death of King Edward IV, England plunged into a succession crisis. The rightful heir was his elder son, Edward V, then just 12 years old. Along with his younger brother, Richard, Duke of York, aged 9, the two princes were brought to the Tower of London, ostensibly for their protection and preparation for coronation, under the guardianship of their ambitious uncle, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, who later usurped the throne as King Richard III. Initially, the two princes were still seen playing within the Tower grounds. But then, abruptly, they vanished. Inexplicably. No one ever saw Edward V or the Duke of York again. The court declared them dead, but provided no concrete evidence of their demise or burial place. Richard III swiftly ascended to the throne, consolidating his position amidst growing suspicion and rumors that he had orchestrated the murder of his own nephews. To this day, it remains one of the most perplexing unsolved murders in English history. Was Richard III truly the cold-blooded killer? Or was there another conspirator behind their disappearance? Historians still fiercely debate, but the truth remains shrouded in darkness. The mystery deepened when, in 1674, nearly 2 centuries after their disappearance, during renovations to the White Tower, workmen discovered the remains of 2 children buried beneath a staircase leading to the chapel. The bones were found deep within the stone wall, suggesting they had been buried hastily and secretly. While contemporary archaeologists and the monarchy believed them to be the princes, and they were reinterred with solemnity at Westminster Abbey, no DNA testing has ever been conducted to definitively confirm their identities. Could these truly be the bones of the unfortunate princes? Or merely a chilling coincidence? Since then, legends of the ghosts of the 2 young princes have proliferated, haunting the Tower. Many yeoman warders, beefeaters, staff, and visitors have reported unsettling experiences. Some swear they felt an abrupt, inexplicable chill when walking through the White Tower's corridors at night. Faint, small footsteps ceaselessly echo from empty rooms. Some even claim to have seen two faint, shadowy figures of children, hand in hand, gliding through the stone walls, occasionally pausing to stare with hollow eyes. Could it be that their unavenged spirits are forever seeking justice, trapped within the very place where they lost their lives and their future? The Tower of London did not merely witness mysterious deaths. It was also the site of public, bloody executions, leaving indelible scars on history and within its stone walls. Most prominent among these is the tragedy of Anne Boleyn, King Henry VIII's second wife. Anne Boleyn, once an intelligent, captivating woman, so enchanted King Henry VIII that he was willing to break with the Roman Catholic Church, severing ties with Rome simply to divorce his first wife and marry her. She ascended to become Queen of England, mother of the future great Queen Elizabeth I. Yet, Anne's fate was tragically sealed. Just 3 years after her coronation, Henry VIII's affection for Anne had withered. His desperate desire for a male heir and his growing distaste for Anne's strong personality led the king to a cruel decision. Anne was accused of treason, adultery, and incest, charges that most historians believe were fabricated, merely paving the way for Henry to marry his new love, Jane Seymour. On May 19, 1536, Anne Boleyn was brought to Tower Green, a small patch of grass within the tower walls, for her execution. Unlike common criminals publicly executed on Tower Hill for deterrence, Anne was granted a special favor. She was beheaded by a sharp French swordsman, rather than an axe, to ensure a swifter, less painful death. She faced her fate with dignity, though with profound bitterness. Since that fateful day, the ghost of Anne Boleyn has become one of the most famous specters of the Tower of London. Many have reported seeing her headless apparition. Haunting visions. She is often seen wandering through the White Tower, where she was imprisoned last, and especially near the Chapel Royal of St. Peter ad Vincula, where she was hastily buried alongside other executed figures. Spectral processions. Some warders even claim to have witnessed a more chilling sight: a phantom funeral procession moving through the tower grounds on dark nights, led by a headless female figure, accompanied by whispers and laments echoing in the air. Personal experiences. Visitors have recounted sudden, inexplicable cold spots, despite the weather, or observed fleeting lights in the darkness where there should be no source. Some have even reported hearing the shriek of a young woman emanating from the White Tower's walls. Could it be Anne's unavenged spirit, still reverberating through time, seeking the justice she never found in life? The Tower of London not only imprisoned the powerful but also witnessed the deaths of the innocent, victims of political machinations, as in the case of Lady Jane Grey. Lady Jane Grey, a young woman just 16 years old, is known as England's 9 Days Queen. She was the granddaughter of King Henry VIII's younger sister, forced onto the throne by political factions after Edward VI's death. However, her reign lasted a mere 9 days before she was overthrown by Mary I, daughter of Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon. Lady Jane Grey was imprisoned in the Tower with her husband. Initially, Queen Mary I intended to spare her life. However, following Wyatt's rebellion, an uprising aimed at deposing Mary and reinstating Jane, Lady Jane Grey became an intolerable threat. On February 12, 1554, Lady Jane Grey was executed on Tower Green, the same grim spot where Anne Boleyn had met her end. In her final moments, she maintained composure and dignity, praying and proclaiming her innocence. Her death was a tragedy that highlighted the ruthless nature of the struggle for power, where even the innocent became pawns and paid with their lives. Like Anne Boleyn, Lady Jane Grey's spirit is believed to still reside within the tower. Specifically, reports often describe seeing the ghost of a young woman in white, wandering near the Queen's house, where she was held before her execution. Phenomena such as sudden cold spots, faint weeping sounds, and delicate footsteps are frequently reported in this area, echoing the tragic fate of the short-reigned queen. The Tower of London is not just home to the tragedies of princes and queens. Hundreds of others, from disgraced nobles to clergymen and commoners, endured their final days within its walls. Every hidden corner, every tower, might hold a dark tale. The most infamous of the subsidiary towers is the Bloody Tower. Its name is no coincidence. It's believed to be where the princes in the tower were imprisoned and possibly murdered. Many other notable prisoners, like Sir Walter Raleigh, also were held here. The Bloody Tower is described as one of the coldest and most unsettling spots in the entire complex. Visitors and warders often report unexplained whispers, heavy footsteps when no one is present, and an indescribable feeling of being watched. The heavy atmosphere of death and secrecy seems to cling to every stone of this tower. For many prisoners, Traitor's Gate was the last threshold they crossed. This was the tower's water gate from the River Thames, where condemned prisoners were often brought by boat. As the gate closed behind them, they knew their lives were coming to an end. The air here always carries a somber weight, a reminder of lives brutally cut short, ambitions crushed, and hopes extinguished. You can almost feel the despair of those who pass through this gate. While not dungeons in the cinematic sense, the prison cells on the ground floors of the White Tower and other towers were dark, cold, and damp. Many prisoners died from disease, starvation, or torture in these very rooms. Reports of groans, the clanging of chains against stone, and piercing screams echoing from empty cells are not uncommon. These sounds seem to be the reverberations of pain that once filled these walls, a constant reminder of the tragic fates of those held captive here. Returning to the legendary ravens. Beyond the prophecy of the kingdom's downfall, many folk tales speak of the tower's ravens being able to sense the presence of spirits. They sometimes become unusually agitated, cawing loudly or flying erratically at unexplainable times, especially when supernatural phenomena are reported. Could these birds be the gatekeepers to the other world, or perhaps messengers from the past, warning of restless souls still wandering? The Tower of London is not only infamous for its mysteries but also for the gruesome methods of torture and execution employed within its walls. These were instruments of fear, designed to extract confessions or to punish those who dared to defy the crown. One of the most notorious torture devices ever used in the tower was the rack. This was a large wooden frame where the victim's hands and feet were tied to rollers. As the rollers were turned, the victim's body would be stretched, causing excruciating pain to the point where bones could be dislocated or even torn from their sockets. The primary purpose of the rack was to force confessions, regardless of the prisoner's actual guilt. The screams of those tortured on the rack are said to still haunt the tower's corridors. Beyond the rack, there were other chilling instruments of torture. Manacles were heavy iron restraints used to hang prisoners by their wrists, forcing them to bear their own weight and causing agonizing pain in their shoulders and arms. Conversely, the scavenger's daughter was a device designed to compress the victim's body. The prisoner was forced into a crouching position, chin pressed to knees, causing extreme difficulty breathing and immense pressure on their joints. Both devices were engineered to break the prisoner's will, driving them to prefer death over continued torment. There were two primary execution sites at the Tower of London. Tower Hill was the public execution ground, located just outside the tower's walls. Thousands gathered to witness these bloody beheadings by axe, typically reserved for common criminals or non-noble traitors. Public executions aimed to deter dissent and assert the monarch's supreme authority. Tower Green, however, was located within the inner precincts of the tower, reserved for more noble figures who were granted the privilege of avoiding the public humiliation of the crowds. It was here that Anne Boleyn, Catherine Howard, Lady Jane Grey, and several other aristocrats met their ends. Though not public, the deaths on Tower Green still carried a somber weight, often the result of political intrigues and the fickle nature of royal favor. During the Tower of London's tenure as a prison, religion and politics often intertwined complexly, leading to wrongful deaths. The English Reformation under Henry VIII transformed matters of faith into acts of treason, condemning many innocent individuals to their demise. Two of the most famous victims of religious conflict under Henry VIII were Sir Thomas More and Bishop John Fisher. Both were staunch loyalists to the Pope and refused to acknowledge Henry VIII as the supreme head of the Church of England. Their fate for their unwavering commitment to their faith, they were charged with treason. Thomas More, a brilliant scholar and author of Utopia, and John Fisher, a revered bishop, were both imprisoned in the Tower and executed on Tower Hill in 1535. The haunting their deaths serve as a chilling reminder that even the most virtuous and learned individuals could not escape the tyranny of absolute power when wielded in the name of religion. The spirits of these martyrs are said to still wander the Tower's vicinity, echoing their injustice and their steadfast devotion. Beyond high-profile figures, numerous Catholic priests, monks, and laypeople were imprisoned and tortured within the Tower for refusing to renounce allegiance to the Pope. They endured horrific suffering, with many dying in dark cells or facing execution. The stories of their brutal torment, coupled with their extraordinary bravery in facing death, form an integral, dark chapter in the Tower's history. Beyond the widely known tales, the Tower of London harbors lesser-known mysteries and other spirits believed to still haunt its hallowed grounds. Ironically, even those who once wielded supreme power at court and executed the monarchs could not escape a grim fate within the Tower. Thomas Cromwell, King Henry VIII chief minister, helped the king orchestrate the English Reformation and the downfall of Anne Boleyn. Yet, he too eventually fell from grace, charged with treason, and was executed on Tower Hill in 1540. His spirit, that of a cunning and ruthless powerful man, is believed to still haunt the Tower Hill area, perhaps seeking vengeance or eternal rest. One of the most barbaric executions in the Tower's history involved Margaret Pole, Countess of Salisbury, King Henry VIII's elderly cousin. At 67 years old, she was charged with treason simply for being a member of the old Plantagenet family and for her connections to Cardinal Pole, a vocal opponent of Henry. Horrific death. She was executed on Tower Green in 1541. The story goes that she refused to lay her head on the block and actively resisted, forcing the executioner to chase her around the scaffold, delivering multiple horrific blows before finally ending her life. Distressed spirit. Margaret Pole's spirit is said to still haunt Tower Green, with warders reporting hearing agonizing screams and witnessing horrific reenactments of her final moments. Returning to the legendary ravens. Beyond the prophecy of the kingdom's downfall, many folk tales speak of the Tower's ravens being able to sense the presence of spirits. They sometimes become unusually agitated, cawing loudly or flying erratically at unexplainable times, especially when supernatural phenomena are reported. Could these birds be the gatekeepers to the otherworld, or perhaps messengers from the past, warning of restless souls still wandering? The Tower of London is more than a magnificent historical landmark. It is a gateway to the darkest chapters of the past. It's a place where absolute power was exercised with ruthless abandon, where betrayal and personal tragedy shaped the course of history. Its ancient stone walls still seem to echo with the cries of pain, the whispers of injustice, and the secrets buried deep within. From the mysteriously vanished princes to the headless Queen and Boleyn, and countless other victims of power and faith, the Tower of London stands as a chilling testament to the darker side of human history. It's the very stories of its haunting spirits, coupled with the grim methods of torture and execution, that have transformed it into one of the world's most famous and haunting locations. It draws millions of visitors, all seeking a chilling thrill and a deeper immersion into its dark past. It serves as a constant reminder that even within the most magnificent structures, terrifying secrets often lie in wait, ready to be unearthed.